welcome back. We are here with Melanie Wachsman, who is a lactation specialist and a birth and postpartum doula. Thank you for joining us. And
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. I really want to get into this because breastfeeding, let's start with breastfeeding.
Yes.
That could be such a hot topic among women. And why do you think that is?
Well, I think that birth and breastfeeding is such a hot topic because we don't see it as women anymore. We don't grow up observing other women going through the process and seeing breastfeeding. So it's foreign, it's unknown, and with that comes
Why do you
fear.
think that has been that way?
Well, I mean, that's a whole social thing that we can get into.
And women getting back to work, and
women getting back to work.
It's a very different change of culture.
Right, and how we
Lives have
view women and women's bodies in America as opposed to how we view women's bodies in other countries. So there is some of that.
Yeah, I know that I breastfed for 6 weeks, and it was really, I love my daughter, but it was a horrible experience. And I felt guilty about not doing it longer, but it was just so uncomfortable. And, so what would you say to someone like me who, feels guilty because we're told that the child is not going to be as healthy if they're not breastfed for a long time? Is that true? Is it not?
Well, okay, so that's a lot of questions.
It is.
Well, I was just going to say, is that where somebody like you would come in and help someone before the birth?
Yes.
Talk about it.
Yes.
Help make them comfortable.
Right.
Show them special pillows, whatever they might need. So that's kind of your role in educating women.
Yes.
But it's important to do it before birth.
So what I like to do is set people up for success in breastfeeding and how to best set yourself up during pregnancy. Breastfeeding really starts at birth, and that is often hindered in policies and procedures that happen in a hospital, not because they're bad, evil people, but because they do things for efficiency's sake. And then how do you manage at home?
Right.
And how do you continue the process?
Right, right.
So
What's an example of something they do in the hospital?
well, okay, so let's say you've had a traditional vaginal birth.
Right.
Okay. You have your baby and they go, oh, isn't he beautiful? Well, we're going to take him and put him over in the warmer while the doctor cleans you up, and we'll give him back to you. So it'll be just a little bit. We're going to weigh him and just check his vitals and all of that. And so what happens in that process is then the baby gets shots, the baby gets erythromycin in its eyes, and then they weigh the baby and they're, the baby's cold. We're going to keep the baby in the warmer for a little bit longer. Swaddle the baby, an hour could go by. They swaddle the baby, then give it back to you.
So there's hospital procedures that they tend to follow as opposed to giving the child to the mother. I mean, there might be some medical reasons if there's a little bit of a difficulty or something, but generally, there probably isn't for the most part. And then you're saying the baby should be given to the mother right away for the warmth and for all of that.
So ultimately, in a perfect world, you give birth, you've worked very hard, chances are. Your baby's also worked really hard.
Right.
Baby comes out, baby goes to your stomach. Don't do anything. Both of you
relax and
rest and
that would have
bond
been
and
nice.
enjoy each other.
Mine wasn't quite that way.
So what happens, we produce oxytocin in our brain. That's a chemical for which we fall in love. That's the chemical in our brain produces so that we bond.
So that could be one of the benefits then that you're saying it would produce. What are some of the other benefits?
Well, can I go back to that?
Sure.
Thank you. So what happens is that it is at its highest at that time when a woman gives birth. And what happens when the baby goes to the mother's chest, then all of the bonding process starts. Babies are very, very smart, and if we give them the time and the ability, they will find the breast on their own. They will self-attach, and it makes that process so much easier to start.
Melanie, what are some of the benefits? I've heard ear infections can be less common.
Ear infections, one of the reasons is that there are so many immune properties, gut flora that is in breast milk that is not in formula. inflammation produces mucus, and so that's one reason why.
Would that lead to other respiratory problems as well? So they can.
And it's a huge generalization, but it is still.
How long do you want to breastfeed? And you know, you hear these controversial cases about 3-year-olds or 6-year-olds being breastfed, and it makes the news, and people want to call social services. What is the optimum time to breastfeed?
Well, the World Health Organization recommends 2 years. That's not always realistic for a lot of women, especially women who are going back to work. So you want to think about pumping, but ultimately the longer you can feed that is feasible for your life and your lifestyle, the better for your infant, and then it's also better for losing the baby weight.
And what about breastfeeding in public? What would you tell women about that? I mean, it's
you know, you have
also.
to do what is comfortable for you, and you know, I am a fan of it, but I realize that that's not what is comfortable for a lot of people. You can cover yourself, you can put a blanket on, and most of the time people won't even know that you are breastfeeding if you have, you know,
So
if you're not an issue, then they're not going to see it as an issue.
Right, a lot to do about nothing. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We learned so much.
Yes,
and got a different perspective and a lot of technical things I had no idea. And we will be right back with more Every Way Woman.